Hey, 1 1 2. Can you hear it? Hear anything yet? All right. Hey, 1 2 1 1. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 1 2. Should be able to hear something right now. 1 2. Hold on. Test 1 2. Nothing coming across up there. Hold up. Easy at the station, I think there's some matrix. Reset. I don't know audio coming across.
I'm gonna head down there.
I hear something, don't you?
What's that?
I hear something, don't you? 1 1 2 1 1 2.
Testing, testing, testing now. Testing. Nothing? Testing. Testing, 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 testing. You can hear.
Well, that could have gone better last night. Yeah, that did not sound good.
They're saying things are slow. Don't have the roll extra. Right like that.
And what?
Oh, no. What's that? Yeah. No. What are you doing tonight? Nights. I want to yell breakfast time. Right. Yeah. Is it?
What the heck was wrong last night? I mean, Clay Central ain't bad.
They're not. They're going. They might not lose.
Well, but they beat Mumford.
They might not lose a game. Seriously.
Um,
But that shouldn't have anything to do with us.
no.
I mean, it should have something to do. I mean, I'm not writing them off if somebody just cannot absolutely ever beat us. But they call the station and tell them every time we call in, it's busy. My phone's broken. That's why I'm having to text
Holy Jesus. But you can text?
on my phone. I mean, on my computer.
Oh, wow. That sucks. Would you drop it again?
Yeah, yesterday.
And right back by the
That was all she wrote.
256-234-6464. I was talking to Stuart Woolbach, he's pretty much doing that show with Dane Sharp.
I know, I saw him
Children's
He's what? Or Dane, both.
but yeah, which one?
I know.
Let me tell you what he did.
Hang on.
I got to, I meant to call you the other day, too.
That's what Stuart did.
How you doing?
All right.
What you do good? Oh, ring?
I feel sorry.
Is your mama here?
ready to go? Hello, is anybody at the station? We ready to go? Hey, can you go turn that to channel 3?
Which one is it?
The cable, the one that's got, there you go. 3. Which one? It's just pointed at the receiver on the left. Hey, 1, 2. Hey, anybody at the station? Colby's the real deal, man.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, he sounded like he was, what do you have last night?
Hey, y'all got us?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What do you have last night?
At 141. Gosh, that's people.
But 6 foot, he's got Taylor across the 5. Can't get it there. Into the end zone.
I mean, is he overselling this a bit?
Look. They got beat again.
No, they won.
The run.
I mean, he's about 20 yards out.
What, are we ready?
Yeah, you want me to go ahead and start the bumper?
Oh, yeah, man. Let's roll.
Now, we're talking sports. It's time for the Saturday Sports Countdown with Brett Pritchard, Randy Lee, and Luke Robinson. Auburn, Alabama, around the SEC, and around the nation. This is the Saturday Sports Countdown. To be a part of the program, call 256-234-6221. Now, let's join Brett, Randy, and Luke for the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Good Saturday morning out there, everybody, and welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill. Brett Pritchard, Luke Robinson here with you on a Saturday morning. Already a little warm out there, and I don't know what just happened there on the on the TV screen, but it's a replay of you and Adam last night. So hopefully we'll get that squared away and get you and I up here live. But Luke, this time of year, there is not a lack for things to talk about. Our phone lines will be open today, 256-234-6221. High school football is 2 weeks in now. Some teams have two games under their belt. Others have their first game under their belt after Thursday and Friday night. So we'll talk about all the local teams. We'll talk about, obviously, what happened over at Central Clay last night with Benjamin Russell. Obviously coming off a 12-2 season last year, semifinal appearance, a narrow defeat to Spanish Fort, losing 31-27, could have easily won that game and moved in to a state championship opportunity against Clay Chalkville. But regardless, finished with one of the top records in the state, one of the top 4 teams in the state. If that senior class last year had moved on to play Central Clay and notched that win against Spanish Fort, they would have eclipsed that senior class that won the state championship back in 2001 and played on into the 2002 season. They would have tied them actually with that win at Spanish Fort, and would have beaten them if they could have won a state title. That just tells you what a great 4-year run that senior class had. You fast forward to last night, a very talented Benjamin Russell team. I want to make mention that most of you that listened last night, you heard us talk about a lot of positive things, and there are a lot of positive things with this team. There are plenty of areas to work on. We'll talk about those tonight, or today rather. But Nicole B. Maxwell, when you have a piece like him coming back, obviously you can go and get better and better and better as the year goes on. Timmy Lawson with his first start last night, I thought he did a pretty good job of managing and trying to get a feel. Let me tip my hat and let me give a lot of credit to Central Clay. I don't want it to sound like, it was all us not executing, and we did fail to execute a lot of times, but it had a lot to do with a very good football team at Central Clay. Chris Herron's a good coach. Coach Herron Luke has been telling me for about 3 years that when this class, this group here, kind of like what you were looking forward to with college football. A few years ago, you were saying, man, that first week of college football season is going to be unbelievable. And, we were 2 or 3 years out, and everybody's like, well, that's 3 years down the road. Well, here it is. We'll be facing that next week. Well, Coach Herron's been waiting on this group. This group is loaded with sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Some of the best skill guys, and Coach Horn told me in the locker room before the game, he said, we may not play a team all year that had better skill position guys than they did. We whipped them up front in the first half, credit them. They manned up, and they did what they had to do in the third quarter on the offensive line to score and take the lead and make a drive at the end of the game from their own one. When they made a special teams mistake, we scored 10 unanswered points, tie the game at 16. There's 5 minutes to go. Their deep guy goes back to catch the football, and when he goes down to catch it, his knee touches the ground at the 1 yard line. We had all the momentum. Credit that team for taking that ball off the goal line, driving down, eating the whole 5 minutes up off the clock, and kicking a 22-yard field goal to win the football game. But a lot of positives, a bunch of negatives there that we can work on. We played a great football team, and frankly, as Coach Horn said in the paper this morning, better team won last night.
Yeah, first of all, I do think in the end, Central Clay County is the better team. It sure sounded that way, the way you guys were broadcasting it. That I think BRHS on the surface has more talent and it is maybe a little bigger, but in the end, they just got worn down. And they also lack some in experience. Obviously, Jacoby Maxwell is a fantastic player, and he's going to get his yards no matter what. But if you can not stop him, but contain him to some degree, and then just not let BRHS beat you through the air when they have play action, et cetera, then I feel like a lot of teams are going to have a shot against this team this year. I mean, that's probably something I can say that you can't say just because you're with the radio network, the BRHS radio network. But I looked at BRHS's schedule, and I'm not trying to be trying to be a doom and gloomer, but last week when I looked at it, I thought, okay, you get by Central Clay County, it's going to be tough, but I thought they'd get by it.
Yeah.
And then you take on a Pelham team, which got routed last night by Mortimer Jordan. I think
Pelham's not very good.
They can beat them. And then, Chelsea's always kind of tough, but you usually beat them. Well, now I'm looking at it another way. It's amazing how one game has sort of changed my perspective. BRHS starts out for the first 5 games on the road, and they obviously started on the road last night and lost. And they go to Pelham. I think they'll get by Pelham. You come home and play a Chelsea team. This Chelsea team looks strong, and they've gotten better every single year.
Yeah, they have.
And then there are a couple of road games. I know Oxford, and there's one of Opelika. My gosh, Opelika. I thought that perhaps with Bentley heading on to South Carolina, that Opelika would take a step back. They have not.
They've missed him at all.
That's just the sign of a good program that can just you plug and play. And then you play an Oxford team that beat Gadsden City last night. This Oxford team's got a lot of prospects in the 2018 class. And then
I know.
Let me tell you another game that you would have marked down as a win probably at the beginning of the season, and that's Wetumpka. And all Wetumpka's done is put 55 up on Prattville in a win, and then shut out another team last night, 33-0. I believe it was.
Did you follow?
Well, you follow. That's right.
They're not very good.
But they're not very good, but they shut them out.
They
Brett.
did well. And let me just say this, and moving forward, and we got one game, and it was a tough fought game. We missed some opportunities to take the lead and extend the lead out earlier in the game, and we didn't do it. And that's part of a young – this team's young. Mm-hmm. It's got some pieces in some places and some veterans back, but it's young. The defensive line is unbelievably impressive. 9 to 10 serviceable guys up front. I'm not talking about serviceable, 6'2", 6'3", 220 to 260, 270-pound guys. Look really good all the way from sophomores up and juniors up and down the line. And that was one of the places that we lost the entire defensive front last year. So I want to go back and go on a comment that you just made on a plug and play. We've had 4 consecutive seasons of 10-plus wins. Last year we went to the semifinals. We're blessed to have a program that's a perennial power, year in and year out. So when you do get beat 19-16 on the road to a team that you think you're going to beat by a couple of touchdowns, it does shock you. It shakes you a little bit, and that coaching staff's over the hill right now working on, and that team's over there in the film room working on ways to get better for next week. I think this team's going to get better every week. Now, does that mean that's going to notch wins? No, the schedule's a lot tougher, and you got some teams you never played. But I'm going to credit Pelham, and I'm going to credit Helena, and I'm going to credit Wetumpka, and some of these teams last year that went 1-9, 3-7, like a Wetumpka did. Teams, Wetumpka's not used to going.
Chelsea bided their time.
Chelsea has taken their strides every year, and they've grown into a good program. So we've been there. You know, those teams were trying to catch up to us in Opelika, and we've been very competitive with Opelika the last 3 years. We've given out of gas. I think the depth is what's beaten us against Opelika. Now, this year, they seem to have a very good football team, and we got a team that's going to be learning from week to week. I think, Luke, you look back at what we had as far as the game last night, and starting slow offensively with penalties and not being able to move the football. Our defense was on the field a lot in the first half, and it caught up to us in the second half. I'm not making an excuse for why you give up a drive off the 1 yard line, but our guys were gassed at the end of that game because of not being able to get off our offense not being able to sustain some drive and move the football and keep Clay's defense on the field more than it did. It built up. We battled cramps all night last night. We got several guys going both ways because we got some injuries. We're waiting for some key starters to come back. They'll be back in the next couple to 3 weeks. So that's just part of it. You don't make excuses. You lost 19-16. Grab what you can positive, and you build off that. I'll tell you what you do build off of is Dylan Munkus is almost automatic. When you get inside field goal range, if it wasn't for Dylan last night, Luke, we would have been in trouble. We'd have been in deep trouble. He kept us in the football game. He scored 10 points, 3 field goals, and an extra point. And then we were able to manage the Nicole run, a 48-yard touchdown run. And Nicole had a great game last night, and they keyed on him. And he's a workhorse. Coach Horn knew and told him he's going to have to carry the load this year because he's the playmaker on the team. He probably had about 150 yards rushing last night when the defense knew he was going to take the handoff. So he's a tremendous talent.
Yeah, I really like watching him play. I like hearing you guys talk about him on the broadcast. He is a fabulous talent. I think he's a little undersold when it comes to recruiting circles, and maybe eventually he will get the recognition he deserves. Sure. But that comes back to what you said earlier about the fact that Benjamin Russell was not able to sustain drives, which seems odd because N'Kobe Maxwell had 150 plus or minus yards. So when you think that you have a running back have that many yards, you would be able to sustain some drives. So where is the disconnect there? I mean, I know he got 48 of them on one run, but, it didn't sound as if, and you can correct me, that he got it was a 48-yarder and a 35-yarder. No, he had a bunch of good 4 to 7 yard runs, and so those seem to me like they would be drive-sustaining runs. And I go back to, I think this can be a good teaching moment. I mean, obviously, look, the season's not over. Things aren't lost. I mean, Hoover lost. No. Look, Hoover lost last night. Yeah, so, I mean, and there can be a positive in this. I think that what Coach Horn is going to try and teach folks, the defense at least, about this is, okay, when I've been telling you all summer about conditioning, this is what I mean.
Sure.
Conditioning was the difference in our giving up a drive that took, I think it was about 87 yards. It was a 26-yard field goal. It was about 80-some-odd yards from the 1 yard line. And when I was telling you this June and July, let's run one more lap, let's do one more set of bench presses, whatever it is, this is what I was talking about. And maybe we need to get on that right now. I think Benjamin Russell's going to have a chance to regroup this weekend against Pelham and then just start anew from there. This wasn't an area game.
No,
it's not the end of the world. But it certainly did put a spotlight on some issues.
Well,
and I think that in the end, that can be a good thing. But right in the moment, Saturday morning after it happens, it hurts.
Yeah, it's tough to wake up, especially after the season you had last year. A lot of these kids on that team had to find a way to get up this morning and go to go to that film room and break that down. And Coach Coleman said it on the game last night. It's not going to be a fun time in that film room today, breaking down that last drive for those defenders. And Coach Horn and that defense is going to they're going to rag on that, and that's going to be a challenge put forward, saying, we got them right where we wanted them, and you couldn't dig deep enough to stop them. And our kids played hard, but that's what the coaching staff telling them. You got to find a way when you got a team backed up inside their own 1 yard line with a game on the line to be able to get off the field, get the ball back to your offense, give them a good field. Because literally, if you can go 3 and out right there, punt the ball, I mean, you're already almost in Dylan Marcus' field goal range immediately. And we had the momentum in the game. That's another thing that gets underplayed a lot of times. We had the momentum. Nakobe was really, even battling cramps, he was really starting to wear down that defensive front. We couldn't get off the field, and they took the ball down. Credit Cameron Peoples, a junior tailback, for them to be able to rush for 141 yards himself last night. Credit Ben Street, being a savvy quarterback, being able to make plays and do the things he needed to do to be successful. So, I'm proud for what they were able to do.
Let me throw this out there too, and I think this is also a wake-up call to the entire defense. Somebody has to step up as a leader, and this is not necessarily my calling anybody out. I mean, all the kids are good kids, nothing like that. But every team on either side of the ball, I think, needs the alpha dog. And somebody on the defense has got to recognize, guys, we just caught a break. They kneeled it on their own one by accident. We cannot let them out of this hole. And instead, it sounded as if, and again, I don't think this may have been all subconscious, but it seemed like every time BRHS needed a play, it just didn't happen.
That's right.
And somebody on that defense has to take charge. I don't know who it's going to be.
Right.
And somebody needs to make their mind up. I'm going to be the alpha dog from this point forward. And again, that's where this could be a learning situation, and it's not an area game, so it's not the end of the world, but that needs to happen.
Learn from it, exactly. We're going to take a break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. When we come back, Kevin Keel, the voice of the Dable Tigers, will be on to talk about their 48-21 victory over Reeltown. Gets them to 1-1 on the season here early. Stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown coming your way right after this.
Your comfort is our number one concern. Advanced Heat and Air.
Advanced Heating and Air is now offering blown-in insulation. If your house didn't keep you warm in the cold weather, chances are it's not going to keep you cool this summer. Call on the guys at Advanced Heating and Air to make sure your home is comfortable year-round. Advanced Heating and Air, 256-234-5052.
Your comfort is our number one concern. Advanced Heat and Air.
The Sure Shot is locally owned and operated by Kim and
let
Woody
me know
Bear.
when he's
the
on
Sure
the air.
Shot now has complete line of Kimber, Springfield, and 6-hour 1911, as well as a complete selection of your
Can you hear
tactical
me
long
back there?
guns with Springfield M18s and Remington
Can you,
BTRs
let
now
me know
in
when
stock.
he's
The
on
Sure
the phone?
Shot has the latest in elite archery bows and the Bowtech Destroyer.
now?
Don't forget to check out their Carhartt boot and Browning clothing line. Stop by or call 256-329-0080 or visit them online, thesureshot.us.
Yeah, he's
The
on
Sure
the
Shot,
phone.
Lake
Okay, all
Martin,
right, good deal.
Sportsman's headquarters.
When you want a
You'll hear me
quality
introduce
pre-owned
him and
car,
then just
truck, or
like
van,
it
Lake
through.
Martin
Okay.
Truck and Auto wants to give you credit. Walk in and ride out. It doesn't matter what skeletons are in your credit closet. Lake Martin Truck and Auto has Lake Martin's best selection of hand-picked late to mid-model cars. Lake Martin Truck and Auto also gives you credit for your good credit with low rates and easy terms on all models. And if a straight buy is your need, Lake Martin Truck and Auto will not be beat on a sales price because your cash is king. Take your credit to the walking man's friend, Lake Martin Truck and Auto on Dayville Road in Alexander City.
Don't let pests take your house or business over. Wave the red flag. Red Flag Pest, owned and operated by Scott Davis on Highway 280 in Jackson's Gap, is licensed, insured, and bonded, and serves the Lake Martin area, specializing in lake homes, residential property, and industrial property. Call for a free inspection today, 256-825-0430, and visit us online at redflagpestcontrol.com. Red Flag Pest Control, when the problem has to stop. Guaranteed.
In our lead story tonight, S&S Discount Tire Pros in Alex City and Dadeville is now offering tires, clothing optional. Thanks to the tremendous success of SNSDiscountTire.com, that's SNSDiscountTire.com. Now you can shop, compare, price, order, and schedule your service online. And only you and your cat know what you're wearing. Cherokee Road in Alexander City or East South Street in Dadeville. But you must wear clothing there. SNSDiscountTire.com.
Whether you like to visit your neighbors or want a fun vehicle the whole family can enjoy, Fun Cars from Opelika has you covered. With easy-go golf carts, hunting buggies, and even go-karts for children and adults. Have your car customized with your favorite sports team, NASCAR driver, or maybe just a little extra style. Fun Carts also has a full service department to deal with any issues. Call Jim Hadaway at 745-0660 or visit them at 618 Lee Road 113 or funcarts.net and have your cart delivered tomorrow. Fun Carts of Opelika, your easy-go dealer. Put a little fun in your life.
Can't hear anything. Let me know.
All right, coming back to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson here with you till noon. We'll take your calls in the next segment, but this time we want to go to the phone line. Welcome in our good friend Kevin Keel, the play-by-play announcer for the Dadeville Tigers. So, Kevin, good morning to you.
Good morning to y'all.
How's everything down in Dadeville this morning?
Man, it's hot down here in Dadeville.
Yeah, I think it's hot everywhere. Amazing. The humidity, even last night when the sun went down, the humidity seemed like it vamped up, and a lot of our kids caught cramps and tried to battle through that. And, you know, you practice and you prepare all in the off season, but nothing is like that true first game action, and it wore some of our guys down. But let's talk about the Dadeville Tigers. Dadeville with a big 48-21 win over Reeltown this past Thursday night. I want to just kick it over to you. I haven't talked to you since the first game of the season against Lafayette. Obviously, Jalen Whitlow is the real deal. His highlights, he's been offered by Auburn now. I think he's going to get a lot more offers. He's a tough competitor that played both offense and defense. And just elaborate on that first game, and then we'll lead into the Reeltown game, Kevin.
All right, yeah, the first game, Jalen Whitlow, he is everything he is billed to be, Brett. He come out and he is the kicker, he's the punter, he's the kick returner, he's the punt returner, and he's the safety, and he's the quarterback. Now, I was waiting for him to throw it and run down there and catch it. You know, I mean, that's just the kind of athlete he is. But, you know, he kind of got knocked out of the game for a few plays there in the first half. And, you know, we're thinking, okay, let's capitalize on this. Well, they bring in number one, and I'm not sure of what his name is, but they didn't miss a beat. 2 plays there in the end zone, and then he comes out and kicks it to the 5. So, I mean, Lafayette is loaded with athletes. I mean, number 10, number 2, number 4, Whitlow 7-1. I mean, they've got 7 or 8 tremendous athletes over there. So I look for Lafayette to do really well.
Yeah, I think Lafayette, you know, that Lafayette-Lynette matchup coming up in a few weeks is going to be one to watch, as Lynette's scoring a lot of points. Both teams are ranked and very talented, so we'll see how that goes. But Dadeville rebounds this past Thursday, and they put up 48 on Reeltown, 48-21. That's not your typical Dadeville Reeltown score that I've always been used to growing up. I've been used to a lot of 9-7 games and 14-10 games and 7-0 games, those type games. But 48-21, Dadeville, led by Margarius Buchanan, lit up the scoreboard this past Thursday.
Yeah, and you talk about another tremendous athlete. You know, Margarius, he's gonna get his yards and his carries, and he's gonna do well. We had a fairly good defensive show, and we've got to get better on the defensive side of the ball. We got some guys, they like to run up and try to clobber you, but we're not wrapping up. I mean, it's just, you know, typical football. You want to try to kill the guy running the ball, but, you know, and all in all, let's just get him to the ground. whatever it takes. And we're having trouble wrapping up. Now, that we give up 21 points, but Reeltown moved the ball pretty good between the 30s. So, they would get down to the 30 and maybe have a penalty or something happen. But there was one major bright spot on the defense. Philip Russell, number 33, he had a fumble recovery, an interception, and 9 or 10 tackles. So, Philip Russell really was a huge bright spot defensively. And you mentioned that, Brett, about the score. But in the pregame, we mentioned that it was, Lord, I hope I don't get it wrong here. I think it was 35-15, and Dable's advantage. And I just, talking with Freddie, we're both graduates of Dable. That just seemed far out of proportion from the Reeltown, the last 25 years I know of. It seemed, there was a time we had 3 or 4 victories, but, man, that game, like you said, Brett, always come down to the fourth quarter, maybe even the final drive. So I found that very interesting there. And I don't know what went on in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. So, I'm just going back. I just thought that was a wide separation. I thought it would have been close.
Yeah, I did too. And but that just football's changed a lot. Teams have moved around in programs and offenses the way they are. Things are just different nowadays. So you may have evolved, and that rivalry may have evolved into something where you're going to have to outscore the other team. But you start to see defensive games kind of like ours in Central Clays last night. You don't see that very often anymore. It's more of a old-fashioned 1985, 86 era type SEC football game that we witnessed this past last night up at Central Clay. But that's just the way the era we're in, scoring a lot of points. And hey, you'll take a win however you can win one, whether it be 2-0 or 48-47, however you got to do it. But let's move forward. Who does Dable have this coming up Friday night?
We've got Mumford. Do y'all know how they did last night?
We're going to run down some scores. I don't know. I don't have it particularly in front of me right now, but just keep it tuned in. I'll let you know as soon as we're going to run down the scores from the area.
You still got me, Brett?
Yeah. Can you hear me? You got me, Kevin? I think we lost Kevin somehow, some way back there in the studio. I don't know what happened. So we'll get back with him hopefully soon. But we are up against a break. We come back. We will run down that Munford score. We'll run down scores from throughout the state of Alabama and the local area. Stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's right after this.
Meet Bob. Bob just bought a new Camry. He loves it. Now, meet Bob's neighbor, Ted. Ted just bought a 2016 Sonata Sport at Hyundai of Auburn. He loves it and that it was built locally. But what Ted really loves are the savings. His Sonata costs $2,000 less than Bob's Camry. Plus, Ted will make no payments for 6 months, saving $3,000 cash flow. Plus, he got a Hyundai of Auburn deal with big discounts with a no-interest loan for 4 years, lowering his monthly payment. With his savings, Ted bought a boat.
Hey, Kevin's back there.
Now, Bob has a car. Ted has a car with more features. A new boat, Hyundai Assurance, America's best warranty, 10 years or 100,000 miles powertrain, and peace of mind. Don't be Bob. Be Ted. Visit HyundaiofAuburn.com for links to compare various models, features, and prices. What will you do with the money you save?
The world is ever-changing. Make sure your choices are the right choices. At Central Alabama Community College, you'll know you made the best choice. Whether choosing a technical degree program, taking courses to transfer to a four-year college or university, or being a part of their national championship-winning traditions, Central Alabama will provide you with courses and degree programs in tune with today's workplace. Get a sharper focus on your life by choosing one of the 4 convenient locations: Alexander City, Childersburg, Talladega, and now in Millbrook. Central Alabama Community College. Central to you. Central to your success. CACC.edu.
Register now. Fall classes begin August 17th.
Don't you know there's no clean like Peaches and Clean?
Wow, your carpets look fantastic.
Yeah, thanks to Peaches and Clean.
They look new again.
They also clean my kitchen tile.
Simply amazing. I'm calling Peaches and Clean today.
Just call 502-5326. Oh yeah, they have an area rug cleaning facility too.
Peaches and Clean is now expanded to the Alexander City Lake Martin Market. Give them a call at 334-502-5326.
30 seconds.
Can't wait to try these wings.
I know. And apparently the spicy honey barbecue sauce is so good, it'll change your life.
Back on for this next break, or are y'all done?
Is he still on the phone?
Yeah, he's back.
All right, let me get him back, okay?
All right, sounds
Yeah,
good.
we'll probably won't get him, but for a few minutes.
We have a son?
Life-changing?
What happened?
Maybe.
What happened?
Indescribably good? Definitely. The boneless wings meal with spicy honey barbecue sauce, served with crinkle fries and a small drink. Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
All right, coming back to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Let's get right back to the phone lines. Didn't quite finish up there with Kevin Keel. Kevin, you still with us?
Hey, hold on.
Hey, Kevin, you with us?
No, hold on.
Trying to get Kevin back on the phone with us. I think Kevin is still with us, but we're trying to get him back on the phone. So, again, voice of the Dayville Tigers and Reeltown and Dayville meeting this past Thursday. Dayville winning 48-21 and improving to or getting their record even at 1-1 on the season. And they move forward to play Munford. We'll try to run down a Munford score here and run down scores from around the state a little bit later on. But we'll recap what happened last night around the local area. Obviously, as we talked about, Central Clay defeated Benjamin Russell on a last-second field goal, 19-16 in a defensive battle. As we just mentioned, it was Dayville 48, Reeltown 21 Thursday night. Coosa Central gets their first win. They defeat Fayetteville 34-7. Horseshoe Bend with a big win over Donahoe. Horseshoe Bend wins 55-13. Stanhope Elmore falls at the very end to Prattville 28-23. The woes continue for the Mustangs. They can't really get things going. They didn't win any games last year and have lost again starting off the season. So tough sledding in Millbrook, uncharted territory for the Mustangs. Wetumpka defeats Eufaula 33-0. That's a team the Wildcats will play later in the season. Tallahassee with a close win over W.S. Neal last night, 26-21. Elmore County 1-point victory over Alabama Christian, 14-13, and it was hopeful falling to Marbury, 35-24. So those are some games from around the local area. Some tough losses for some of our teams that were close, and some games that were won. Horseshoe Bend winning over Donahoe 55-13. That's a big win for the Generals to get things started and to improve to 1-0. And I know they're excited about that. And you look at their schedule this year, and they've got some definitely winnable games on that schedule. I'm expecting them to do big things this year. So, again, Kevin Keel talked about the Munford team they've got coming up. I don't think we have Kevin any longer, Luke. So we'll get back up here and we'll continue on. But again, scores from around the state. I'll go ahead and start, and we'll start in Class 7A. It was Hoover falling out in Allen, Texas last night, 25-7. Viger loses to Baker 28-16. Phoenix City blanks Fairfield 36-0. Lee Montgomery 51, Parks Crossing 44. Lee Montgomery is a team that really is just phenomenal and continues to play extremely well and has gotten so much better over the last couple of years. Here's another team that's gotten better that was really a team that looked like the program was just left for dead, and they've come back with a vengeance. Jeff Davis, 35, Carver Montgomery, 19.
Yeah, Carver Montgomery now starts out 0-2. Obviously, they lost on a Hail Mary against Auburn the previous week and then get beat by Jeff Davis. But going back to Lee Montgomery, they have a receiver named Henry Ruggs III, and he ended up with, I'm going to say, over 200 yards in returns. He didn't score a touchdown, but plus or minus 200 yards.
Yeah.
He also scored a touchdown with about 90 yards in receiving. He's maybe the best all-purpose player in the state of Alabama this year. His recruiting has really heated up. Don't know exactly where he's going to wind up, but Nico Collins for Clay Chalkville, they squeaked by again last night, 33-30. That's a team that they're just going to – this sounds so cliche, and I hate it when coaches say this, but they're going to have to outscore people. I mean, everybody's got to outscore people, but you know what I mean. And they just don't have much of a defense.
They don't get in a shootout. Yeah.
That's right. They just don't have much of a defense. And Nico Collins had another big game, 7 catches, around 150 yards and a touchdown. That's the second week in a row. His stats are very similar. He's probably the best receiver in Alabama. And then, but there were some upsets. James Clemens loses last night to Gardendale. And what's funny, I think James Clemens actually, they have a really strong defense. They led by LeBron Ray and Monty Rice. Yeah. And they held Gardendale to, I think, 133 total yards.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, Gardendale found a way to get 26 points, and James Clemens could only get 13. So I'm shocked by that.
Benjamin Russell played James Clemens in the spring game, and I think they ended up winning the game 6-0, 9-0, something like that in a defensive struggle. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure James Clemens
has the offense
to win the games that they need to win. So and speaking of the devil, I mean, I feel like Benjamin Russell's probably the same way. Early in the, based off what we've seen, the offense is going to have to get better and is going to have to find some help for Nicole Maxwell to loosen that defense up. And if Benjamin Russell can loosen that defense up, Luke, they can. Nicole Maxwell can be even better. Instead of 150 yards a game, he can get up in the 200, 250 yards a game type territory if we're able to throw the ball downfield. So moving down into 6A, as we talked about, Opelika shuts out Auburn 28-0, just a very tough team. Minor beats Central Georgia 54-0. We'll have to play them later on, and they are a very talented football team. Keith Etheridge, the new era at Pell City, as he comes over from Leeds, wins 56-7 over Childersburg. That's a team you better watch out for. With Keith Etheridge going over with his history and what he was able to do at Leeds, now he's got a program that I've always thought has underperformed in Pell City. I thought they've always had a lot of talent, and they quite haven't been able to put it together. Well, now they've got a coach that's gonna really up the expectations there, and they put 56 on the board last night.
And let me go back and just talk about the top 10 in 6A. The top number 1 team is Clay Chalkville. Obviously, as I mentioned, they squeaked by Bessemer City. And Bessemer City, Benjamin Russell remembers them from last year. They're stronger than people think. They were ranked number 9 in 6A. Sure. And then Blunt gets a big win over Robertsdale. Spanish Fort, they beat Daphne. And here's the thing about Spanish Fort last night. Spanish Fort, their starting quarterback's out with a broken leg. Their second-string quarterback was in an altercation with one of his own teammates on the sideline in that game, so he was suspended for this game. They were down to their third-string quarterback, and they still able to defeat Daphne last night. Hillcrest Tuscaloosa, they kind of moonwalk through Oak Mountain, and that's the team that's, I think, if I had to say I'm going to pick one team to win 6A, it may be Hillcrest Tuscaloosa. They look so good to me in the Champions Challenge, but Opelika is going to have something to say about it, too.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm going to say this. I think the top – if you said, Luke, you got the 5 best teams in 7A taking on the 5 best teams in 6A, I think this year I may take the 6A teams to win the best out of 5 in that series.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I wasn't too far off of that last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not cutting McGill 2-1 down or any of the teams up there at the top. Even Hoover last year didn't make it. Phoenix City. I mean, I felt like Benjamin Russell could have played with any of those teams, and that's not a stretch at all. So I think maybe the last couple of years it's been more that way than anything. You mentioned a Spanish Fort win over Daphne. I know they were down to their third string, but let me just say this in a nice way. Daphne is a shell of its former self.
It is, and they got a brand new coach.
Yeah, and it's not – and I'm not too sure that program will ever get back to where we ever thought it was. I mean, they've split, and Spanish Fort has grown, and people have left Daphne, and other teams in that area like Saraland, who struggled again, barely winning over LaFleur 27-22. A team that was very talented last year and the year before, but they lost their opener last week and then barely squeaked by LaFleur this week. So they're a team that's that's just the ebbs and flows of high school football. I mean, you can be on top one year and look like gangbusters, but when you lose 27 seniors like Benjamin Russell did, that hurts.
It does, and that's Saraland, I'm a little surprised by their early season struggles in the sense that they have a quarterback named Jack West. I mean, they're 2-0.
I'm telling you, let me just say something about him. I don't want to bash a kid, but I watched him up close and personal last year, and I don't really know what the hype's about. I mean, he didn't look very good against us. He can't move really well. When he's under pressure, he can't get his feet set. Now, again, I'm not bashing the kid. I think he's got a very strong arm. But outside of that, I think this is where we get into, Luke. A lot of times we start hearing things, and then what we see sometimes on the field changes our perception of what we've heard through recruiting services and all that. He is highly touted, but I've seen him play in person, and I'm telling you, our defense got after him, and he didn't make very many plays.
And I'll be honest, I'm a little shocked too, because I have a friend down in the Mobile area who's been touting this kid for a while and said he's got all the tools and this and that, and I think he does have all the tools. Yeah. And he's committed to Stanford. He committed early, and I don't think he's going to change that. A lot of people thought he was bound for Alabama, grew up an Alabama fan. But, Stanford got on him pretty early. Yeah. And if Stanford comes calling and you're a smart enough kid, I'm pro, go to Stanford. I mean, there's more to life than football. But I am a little shocked by the fact that they are in so many close games. And when I hear about their games, I read their write-ups, it's not that Jack West is throwing it all over the field. I mean, I'm hearing more about their running backs or their defense or something like that. So I'm a little shocked that he's not put up more statistics, but he does come out in most all services 2018, top 50, top 75 players in the country. So they must be seeing something that maybe we're not privy to.
Obviously. So we're going to take another break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. We'll come back. We'll run down some more scores and wrap up the high school segment as we get ready to start game week for college football. Stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
At U.S. AmeriBank, there's something very different at the heart of what we do and who we are. It's a spirit that also defines our neighbors, local businesses, and communities. Building on our 116-year history in Alabama, U.S. AmeriBank provides something found nowhere else: craft banking. It's an unwavering commitment to handcrafted banking solutions that turns customers into enthusiastic fans. Visit usameribank.com for your local branch to discover the U.S. AmeriBank difference. U.S. AmeriBank, banking on values. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Let Bucks Island put you in the best thing this Labor Day. Ending August 31st, G3 boats are passing the savings to you with up to a $1,500 rebate on G3 and Suncatcher boats powered by Yamaha Motors. 4-stroke Yamaha outboard motors with a 5-year warranty for free. Ending August 31st. Have your Yamaha 3-year warranty extended to 5 years. Power up this summer with G3 boats and Yamaha Motors. Buy a new G3 boat and Yamaha motor now and come out ahead on the water. Bucks Island, 1-800-I'm-READY. See complete details at bucksisland.com.
Hello, I'm Russell Building Supply.
And I'm the big box store. Say, what you doing?
I'm checking inventory in all of our departments.
Well, you're Russell. I thought you only sold lumber to contract.
No. We have lots of home improvement items like nails, nuts and bolts, plumbing, electrical supplies, and the experts to give advice to.
Okay.
Paints and lawn and garden, windows, doors, and cabinets, all at our low price guarantee.
Okay, I get it. I guess I was selling you a little short.
Me? Short? Really?
9 locations serving Lake Martin and Central Alabama.
Guaranteed lowest price, higher than price. Retreat tonight, Price Motors. So many choices, new and used. Friendly service from our family to you. Guaranteed lowest price, higher than price. Price Motors.
Coming back to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Back here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, Brett Pritchard, Luke Robinson with you till noon. Get your calls in, 256-234-6221. Again, wrapping up high school football, week 1 under or actually, this is the second real week.
Yeah.
A lot of teams
well, this is actually week 1. You know, they call the first week 0, which is
that's true.
I mean, it's a little
what is
confusing.
week 0.
I know it's a little and I guess they have to do it because of the jamborees
Sure.
versus games that count or whatever. But I wanted to run down a few of the. If anybody wants to call in and get a score from us, we'd be glad to give it to you. But I love to talk about the top recruits in the state, and AL.com did a great job of breaking down what everybody did last night. I'll run through those very quickly. LeBron Ray at James Clemens mentioned they lost the game 26-13, but Ray had 6 tackles, 2 for a loss, and combined a sack. He was in the backfield with pressures most of the night, and they held Gardendale to just 133 yards. So it was very strange that they lose the game by 13. Nico Collins had 7 receptions, 147 yards, and a touchdown in their win. Austin Troxell for Madison Academy, the Auburn commitment. They ended up losing to a team in Tennessee. Madison Academy maybe taking a bit of a step back this year. They just don't necessarily have the skill position players. Number 4, Markel Benton, the Alabama commitment, the linebacker, had 6 tackles and a pass breakup and a big win for Central Phoenix City over Fairfield. Ryan Johnson out of St. Paul's. This is a score that shocked me last night. They went over to Mississippi and played St. Stanislaus, who has a quarterback committed to LSU, and he's a very good player. But I still thought, okay, St. Paul's pretty strong.
Sure.
No, they got whooped, 49-26.
Wow.
So not a good night for teams from Alabama traveling out of state. Same thing with Hoover. Brian Robinson, the running back, committed to Alabama, 11 carries, 95 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and sort of a ho-hum performance against Oak Mountain. I think Hillcrest is going to have a hard time fighting their own apathy because they're going to be so much better than most everybody they play. And then when the playoffs come around, they better be ready for action. Will Ignat, the linebacker from Buckhorn, he had a good game. Kendall Randolph came back for Bob Jones. Bob Jones lost last night. They were down 10-0 at the halftime. And, Brett, if you remember, last week we interviewed Brad Anderson, the running back, who had 2 99-yard rushing touchdowns. Well, they pretty much held him in check. I don't have his stats, but I don't see a thing about him yet.
Do you ever get the feeling that anybody will ever get over the hump up there? James Clemens, Bob Jones. I mean, these teams, I mean, they're so big and the schools are so large.
Buckhorn.
But they never get it done. I mean, every year we find out, oh, Bob Jones was down 10-0. I mean, there's a mentality up there on the Tennessee line about football, and I will always put my money on teams from Birmingham south.
I'm with you. I would start in Mobile and work my way up. That's how I would do it.
That's exactly what I would do.
But meanwhile, and it's almost the opposite for basketball. If you tell me a team from Huntsville's coming in,
I'm taking them.
I'm taking them. But obviously Birmingham has some good teams in both sports, and Huntsville does too. But you're right; they cannot seem to get where they need to be. James Clemens and Bob Jones, a couple of the bigger programs in the state, and they have not been able to break through, which is a little bit shocking. Of course, very few teams have broken through outside of Hoover.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's you're right about that. That's a good point. In the end, though, I keep saying this over and over again, that the state of Alabama has a big-time group of recruits. I don't think anybody is truly nationally elite 5-star, but I think Alabama this year has a cornucopia of 4 stars, in high 3 stars, as evidenced by the fact that you've
We're not
already
close enough to Thanksgiving to be using.
I love that word.
Yeah, it's a
great word.
It's a great word.
But I think that you have guys that have already committed to Purdue. Mobile Christian has that running back committed to Arizona. I mean, that's not getting enough play to me.
No, it's not.
And then you have a guy like Brad Anderson, who's sort of out of nowhere last week, 2 99-yard touchdowns. That's a big deal. That's a national record that'll never be broken.
Yeah, we'll never see that again. I mean, that is a once in a lifetime situation there to be on the 1 yard. First of all, to be on the 1 yard line twice in one game, and then the second thing is you got to break it on that play. So
and the second one was done with 30 seconds left in the game.
I mean, that's pretty big. Your team had a good night last night, St. Luke's.
St. Luke's, how'd they do?
St. Luke's won. We'll run down the score.
Let me tell you, I'm a lot of things. A Saint ain't one of them.
48-16, exactly. And a lot of people that are listening that know that's funny. Lafayette scored 48 last night over Lochapoka 24. Spoka's usually got a good football team. Lynette 61-25 over Notasulga. Notasulga normally has a good football team. I'm going to tell you something. Those two teams combined for over 100 points last night in their games. Lafayette, as you heard Kevin Kill just talk about, has a very, very good player in Jalen Whitlow. He does everything. He kicks off. He punts. He said he did everything but throw a ball up and go run under it and catch it. He's the quarterback. He plays defensive end, defensive back sometimes. He just got an offer from Auburn.
Does he go by Jalen, or his name is Jatarvius?
Yeah,
does he go by Jalen?
Jalen Whitlow. Yeah,
okay.
Jalen Whitlow. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a tremendous player, and he is great in basketball. He led them to a state championship this past year. He is that game in a few weeks. Good luck. That's going to be
Lafayette?
Yeah, that's going to be unbelievable.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Look, and I think you watch his highlights, and I posted them on the Sports Blitz Facebook page here recently. Go check them out, his huddle highlights. And they're pretty ridiculous. And now they're not playing the upper echelon, but, you go back to somebody like Ardarius Stewart at Alabama. That's a guy, or Sammy Coates at Auburn. They did not play 7A, 6A football. They played 1A,
but they look
3A.
So much, even on those highlights, it's so much more above.
That's right.
And there's some good athletes on the field, but it's like he's in 2 categories above everybody else.
Well, and I'll say this too. I think 10, 15 years ago, Whitlow would be maybe one of the more hotly contested recruiting battles between Alabama and Auburn.
Yeah.
But Alabama and Auburn recruit so much more nationally now that I think Whitlow is going to wind up somewhere. I mean, kind of like a Keith Mixon from Shades Valley, like a Mississippi State kind of thing. I don't know Mississippi State was even in the running, but somewhere like that, and he'll come back to haunt Alabama.
Mississippi State's ended up with some really good players that Auburn and Alabama just really didn't focus on.
Well,
De'Runnya Wilson being one of them.
You can't blame Alabama and Auburn.
No, you can't. I'm just saying that they have benefited.
That's right.
From the fact that Auburn and Alabama are looking elsewhere.
That's exactly right. And look, without Alabama and Auburn going more national, there probably wouldn't be, as many 5 national championships in this state in the last 8 years.
That's right.
But at the same time, I love to keep up with some of these guys. I mean, Hayden Moore from Clay Chalkville was just named the starter at Cincinnati
I know.
over Gunnar Kiel, who, by the way,
was a 5-star.
And was headed to Alabama. He ended up was going to head to LSU. He ended up at Notre Dame, didn't work out, transferred.
Isn't it funny how stuff works out?
It's crazy. And Hayden Moore, all he did at Clay Chalkville was throw touchdown passes.
And all he does is go out and compete. That just tells you out there, all you kids that are listening that may be thinking about, going this place and I don't have a chance. If you just go out and commit yourself and grind and try to get better person, it's not about what somebody else is doing. For Hayden Stewart, it wasn't about what Gunnar Kiel was doing. It was about what he was doing to get better, and it won out. So we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll dive into college football because it is here, folks. It is coming up next Saturday, next Friday. Actually, we had a game last night out in down in Australia. I guess that's appropriate to say.
Is that near Sipsey, isn't it?
I think so. Sipsey Valley. Anyway, we'll talk about that game last night as it was on late between Cal and Hawaii. But we'll come back, and it's time to talk college football. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's right after this.
Harbor Point Ship Store has everything to make your day on the lake more enjoyable. Come on out to the biggest marina on the water, stocked with name brands like O'Brien wakeboards, Airhead Tubes, and Costa Del Mar sunglasses. Stop by for lunch. They have pizza, hot dogs, burgers, and more. Get your gas, groceries, snacks, ice, and everything you need for a fun day on the lake. Are you in the market for a new or pre-owned boat? Harbor Point has the best selection around of everyone's favorite Crest pontoons and Four Winds boats. Harbor Point also has a great selection of pre-owned boats. Come on out and take a look at Harbor Point, Marina Point Road in Dayton.
Hello, you guys there?
Point.
Why should CNT Electric be the company you call when you have electrical issues? Because CNT Electric is locally owned and operated. Our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, and background checked for your safety and security. CNT Electric guarantees their work and offers straightforward pricing. So call CNT Electric at 256-234-0007 the next time you have any electrical issues.
In our lead story tonight, S&S Discount Tire Pros in Alex City and Dadeville is now offering tires, clothing optional. Thanks to the tremendous success of SNSDiscountTire.com, that's SNSDiscountTire.com. Now you can shop, compare, price, order, and schedule your service online. And only you and your cat know what you're wearing. Cherokee Road in Alexander City or East South Street in Dadeville. But you must wear clothing there. SNSDiscountTire.com.
The world is ever changing. Make sure your choices are the right choices. At Central Alabama Community College, you'll know you made the best choice. Whether choosing a technical degree program, taking courses to transfer to a four-year college or university, or being a part of their national championship winning traditions, Central Alabama will provide you with courses and degree programs in tune with today's workplace. Get a sharper focus on your life by choosing one of the 4 convenient locations: Alexander City, Childersburg, Talladega, and now in Millbrook. Central Alabama Community College. Central to you. Central to your success. CACC.edu.
Register now. Fall classes begin August 17th.
All right, coming back to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson.
Guys, you there?
We are here. I don't know why you're not. So are you here?
Can you hear us?
We're here.
The headphone up?
Yeah, it's up. So are we rolling back in the studio?
Give us a signal.
Yeah, how about something?
Guys, you there?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody can hear this.
I don't think. Well, they can on the stream. So,
Great.
Yeah, So that's part of live radio.
I know.
You know, when you're doing two things. Obviously, I think we're on now. Are we on? Can you give us a signal? We appreciate Earth to the studio back now. So, we've been here. Glad all of you stuck with us on the stream there as we deal with a few issues in the studio. Hopefully, we're going to get all that worked out. Luke, it's good to be right here about to talk about college football, man. We've waited for a while to get back here. All the hype, all the banter about who's going to do what and all that is about to be put to rest this coming up week.
I mean, again, it's a weekend that I've looked forward to for forever. I mean, it's hard to believe. I think it was about a year and a half ago. I wrote an article saying, y'all, in 2016, the first weekend is ridiculous. And it is. I mean, it just played out. Everything's so perfect. The timing of it's all perfect. And the thing about it is, I think so many folks could have the game that they're most looking forward to. I mean, take out your own allegiances. I mean, obviously, I'm most looking forward to Alabama, USC, U, and Auburn and Clemson. But David Burkhalter, who does a scoreboard show with me last night, he said, hey, man, you know, the game I want to see is Georgia and North Carolina. And I said, okay, I kind of want to see the LSU-Wisconsin game. I mean, there's Dave Aranda coming over from Wisconsin going to LSU. And then they go play at Lambeau. I mean, that's interesting to me. And the fact that Leonard Fournette's been in a boot the last few weeks. Now he's out of the boot now, but still he's had some ankle issues. Wisconsin, again, opening up an SEC West power. Wisconsin's really been doing the SEC West tour. I mean, they played
really
Auburn in the bowl game.
Yeah, I know.
And something else I thought about today, Brett, it's kind of weird to me that the last 2 years, Alabama and Auburn have had a connection with the final game and the first game. Auburn finished up their bowl season a couple years ago against Wisconsin. Alabama opened against Wisconsin last year. Yeah. Alabama finished against Clemson last year. Auburn opens with Clemson this year.
That's weird.
That is just – I mean, it's just the way the –
coincidence.
It is a very odd coincidence. But then, of course, you've got Notre Dame in Texas on Sunday. What a great time to have that game on just by itself. I mean, that's going to be so much fun at night. Ole Miss, FSU, Ole Miss. My goodness, you talk about staring down the barrel of a gun.
I said it, and I know you listened on Sports Call yesterday, and you called in. I really feel like, and we've talked about this a few months ago, that Ole Miss is a perfect candidate for the NCAA to show that they still have control over college football. And you know they've let North Carolina, obviously, and Miami, and some of these teams slide here lately. People have called them toothless, us being one of them, saying that they really don't have any control. Well, Ole Miss, with all this stuff and the way they're opening up this investigation and giving immunity to players and teams, amnesty to be able to come out and say whatever they need to say, This could be really bad for Ole Miss.
Let me say this, okay? I'm a firm believer in the fact that everybody in the SEC goes 79 in a 70-mile-per-hour zone, at least. At least. I mean, I'm talking everybody. And I think Ole Miss has been going 92. And I think it's a humongously bad sign for Ole Miss when the NCAA is basically telling other SEC teams, we're going to give you immunity, and you tell us what you know. And that can really open up a bad can of worms for Ole Miss. I think this is going to be big-time trouble for them. I don't know exactly when it's all going to come down.
Yeah.
This is just a theory. Nobody in the NCAA has told me this. I just think, and look, you don't have to be Nostradamus to predict that. I mean, you look at Ole Miss's recruiting over the last couple of years. I mean, they're getting the best players out of Florida, the best players out of Georgia, the best players out of Illinois and Michigan. And what is the connection? There was no connection.
No.
And that's the whole thing. They just, if they had just gotten Kimdichie, you could make the argument, Brett, because they already had Denzel Kimdichie.
That's right.
You could say, well, the mother wanted to see the brothers play together. Okay. But to get Kimdichie and Larry Tunsil and Laquan Treadwell all in the same class, and none of them except Kimdichie have a connection to Ole Miss.
I know.
And the fact that one day Treadwell's leaning somewhere totally different, the next day he's like, I'm going to Ole Miss.
I know it.
Same thing with Tunsil. Tunsil was down to Alabama and Georgia. Everybody thought it was going to be back and forth. He goes on one Ole Miss visit. He goes, yeah, I think I'm about to wrap this up.
It's fishy, and that's why there's so much talk from other schools about these recruits coming to Ole Miss. That's why I think the NCAA is obligated to have to tell or have to go in depth about what they're doing with Ole Miss. So, Luke, and we might as well say it here. Actually, what we'll do is go ahead and take the top of the hour break, and when we come back, pretty big story breaking, and we'll dive into it involving Urban Meyer. It doesn't have anything to do with him per se. Maybe it does. I don't know. But some issues with his family and his brother-in-law that we're going to find out. We'll talk about when we come back. But not what you want, period, anytime, regardless if you're a coach or whatever you are, but especially heading in to college football season with Ohio State with all the stuff on his mind. Now he's got to deal with this. So stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's right after this. things that that you look at as far as their team as a whole, their offense. If you want to catch Clemson, right now is the time to catch them, and they're notoriously, they're in history a slow starting type team. Now I know it changes when you got a guy returning like Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun Watson, if you're going to play him, why not play him first game of the season on the road in your place? So there is a reason. Vegas knows a lot more, obviously, a lot of times than we do. It seems like anyway with their point spreads, they come into the game highly touted. Auburn with a lot of question marks. Let the chips fall where they may, man. It could be a very interesting game if Auburn can get some momentum.
The more I get into this game, the more I do think Clemson's going to come away with a victory, though. A few weeks ago, I made my predictions in the paper. I picked Auburn third in the West. That was before Javon Robinson was booted, obviously before the Stephen Roberts situation, which, again, he's not catastrophic loss, but in a secondary that's not very deep. Marshall Taylor coming in late to the team and not being able to practice quite as much, that could be an issue. I look at Clemson's receivers there as they've got a top 3, top 4 group of receivers in the country, and they get a guy named Deion Kane back. They get another guy back that was injured. Deshaun Watson is a surgeon, and I just think he's an incredible player. Again, I remember after the championship game last year, I felt like instead of celebrating as much as I thought as I probably should have, I was more breathing a sigh of relief that we don't have to play that guy another minute. He's just incredible to me. And I get it. I get that Terry Henley went on Jocks and said that Usain Bolt has a better chance of beating Usain Bolt or something in a foot race than Clemson does of beating Auburn at 8:00 on a Saturday night. And I get it. And I think historically Auburn has been good in that spot. But man, I have a hard time picking against Deshaun Watson. I just think
and I don't think anybody should. Look, the pressure's on them to perform, and Clemson's the one that's ranked number 2 in the country, and they have the Heisman Trophy. They're in uncharted water. They have the bullseye on their back now. Even last year, people weren't sold on Clemson until they actually made it to the national championship game. It was up for grabs, deciding what, and they played good against Oklahoma. Thought they did really good to get there, and then obviously played a good game against Alabama. Now they're in a position that they haven't been used to being in, and that's having the guy everybody wants, having the bullseye on their back, trying to be the hunted and not the hunter for the first time in a long time in Clemson football. So they do. Look, everybody's got unbelievable expectations. Week 1, everybody's undefeated. Week 1, you have the game at your place. If you're an Auburn fan, 8:00, it's going to be a rabid environment. Hey, look, use whatever advantage you can early in the season to see what you can get. And kudos to Clemson if they roll into Auburn and they win convincingly. That may send a message to everybody around the country that, hey, man, they are for real.
I love what Clemson is doing anyway. They play at Auburn, and then they also have to take on South Carolina later. So, I know South Carolina's a game they play every year, but still they got 2 tough non-conference opponents. I think the bigger story isn't so much about Deshaun Watson, because I think I know what he's going to do. Look, the one of the reasons that I think this is going to be a bad matchup for Auburn is it is theoretically strength on strength. It's Clemson's strength is their offense far and away, and we think Auburn's strength is going to be their defense. We believe it's going to be.
Yeah.
But we don't know that yet.
It hasn't been in a long time.
It hadn't been in a while, and you got a new defensive coordinator that he's got, first of all, at Clemson, he let another team score 70 points. I'd never even put that together. I forgot about the fact that he was at Clemson when that happened.
That's right.
So we think Auburn's strength is going to be that. And then on the other side, Clemson's weakness is their defense. I think they lost Austin Bryant. They've lost Kevin Dodd. They lost Shaq Lawson. They lost a lot of guys. Austin Bryant just got hurt. And on Auburn's side, on offense, I think
Auburn's offensive line is going to be very good.
They could be very good. I think their guards are very good. The tackles, I think, are concerning. And then the quarterback, Sean White, we hadn't even brought that up yet. He was just named the starter. And I think that's the play. That's what I would have done. But at the same time, what's everybody been saying for months and months and months. We got to get back to hurry up. We got to get back to this. We got to get back to running. And Sean White ain't that guy.
Well, maybe that's a lot of talk from fans and media. I mean, I guess Gus Malzahn gets paid the money he gets paid to make the decisions, and maybe he feels like that's the best opportunity for them to win. So, but we'll see. He did get named the starter yesterday.
Is that who you would have gone with?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if John Franklin III comes in from junior college and he's struggling to hang on to the football, and he's got turnover issues, you can't stick that guy out there against Clemson at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, turn the ball over 2 or 3 times. You're not going to win. You got to manage your possessions. You got to make them count every time you have the ball. Sean White has a little experience under his belt. He played hurt some, so I think we discredited him a little bit unfairly last year, me being one of them. Now, if he can stay healthy, and the receivers can catch the football, a la the Arkansas game last year where they dropped 9 passes in the first half, then, yeah, things can be different. I think Sean White has something to prove. He may have a chip on his shoulder a little bit. He was a highly recruited quarterback out of high school. He was the Under Armour All-American MVP in that game. So, yeah, I think Sean White's got all the tools. The offensive line, if it can block for him, I think we're going to run the football with a combination of running backs. I think our receiving corps is much improved. I think we can move the football. We can get into a scoring battle with Clemson. On the flip side of things, if our defense is much improved with that offensive line for Clemson, I think that's where the game's going to be won or lost. If Auburn can get some pressure and not allow Deshaun Watson to just sit back there for seconds on seconds and just pick the defense apart back in the secondary, I think that could be a favorable situation for Auburn.
And then, of course, you come back to the Stephen Roberts situation. He played in all 13 games, started the last 4 last year. What do you do with him, Brett? We talked about this yesterday on Sports Call a little bit, that a lot of people compare it to the Cam Robinson situation. But I go back to Cam Robinson happened so long ago that I think Saban made a great point that, look, and I don't remember if it was May, April, or June that it happened, but it was in that neighborhood.
It was in June.
It was in June?
Yeah.
Okay. So you face punishment, and then are you supposed to carry that punishment on in? I mean, it's sort of like if your kid spills milk, and then you rub his face in it the next morning. I mean, you sort of got to catch him.
I know.
I probably shouldn't use your kid as that example. I don't think anybody does that.
Yeah, I don't think you rub your kid. Now, I don't think you may rub yours.
Yeah, maybe I should have. But anyway, I think that with Stephen Roberts, the problem is, number one, he ran from police. That's a huge issue.
Totally understand
and secondly, this happened a week before the game, so there's not much time to do any internal punishment.
Look, there was a guy that called in on Sports Call yesterday, and I know we got to get to break, but he made a good point. What is the culture with these guns? I mean, why is all these – I mean, it's just not at Auburn. It's Alabama and it's Notre Dame. Everybody toting 40s and 45s and 9mm around. I mean, the guy called in, and he was obviously from Opelika. He said, look, man, is it really that tough around here that this guy's got to be toting a gun all over the place and that he's got a gun with no permit? I mean, why aren't you focused on getting ready to play football next week instead of riding around in a car with a permit and then jumping out and running away from police?
And listen, Brett, I am 100% with you. But I think at the same time, it's easier for us to say it.
Well,
Stephen Roberts and the Cam Robinsons and the Hootie Jones come from different backgrounds than we do. And they also are the culture is different, and it's a shame. And we need to try and change it.
Everybody wants to be Billy Bad Egg.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, I'm toting a gun. I'm Mr. Football player, and it's a culture. It's an image that they want to portray. But like the guy called in and said, I think I would just kick him off the team if that's what he provides.
Has he been in trouble before?
Yeah, but here's the point he was making. You're a week out. You just said it. You're a week out from playing. This is not like it's happened in May or June when there is a lot of downtime. I mean, Byron Cowart and Jeremiah Denson and Carlton Davis and Ryan Davis all got arrested for marijuana back on April 30th. And Gus Malzahn said somewhere in the end of May, he said, we're going to handle this internally. They're going to, if they do what they're supposed to do, they won't miss any time playing. But like you said, when Stephen Roberts did what he did, you're a week out from football. So what are you going to do? You can't put him through some type of thing. It's just what I would be so upset about as a coach is like, man, what are you doing? Are you not focused on – maybe you just sent a sign that you don't need to be playing for us. if you got other things on your mind other than getting ready to play in a huge football game in 8 days.
I'm in the unenviable position of taking up for an Auburn player. I hope Auburn does not kick him off the team.
I don't think they'll kick him
I
off
hope
the team.
that I think
he's going to get punished.
I think he should be suspended for a few games.
Well, I said that yesterday on Sports Call. I said, and then Shadow said he should have been kicked off. I said, how can you kick him off and not have kicked Byron Cowart and all that crew off if those were first defensible things? I mean, you got to set some type of precedence. You can't do for one what you don't do for another. If you do, you have yourself in a mess. Now, he did kick Javon Robinson off, but
that was other things too.
He'd been doing that. The multiple counts and stuff.
And Javon came in with some strikes. I mean, he had already.
No, he did. So we got to get to break when we come back. Urban Meyer, this situation with his brother-in-law, we'll talk about it. Not something he wants to be dealing with from an image standpoint heading into college football. Stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's right after this.
Have land and want to build? Need land and want to build? Your friends at America's Home Place have you covered. Without the outrageous per square foot cost of other home builders, America's Home Place of Opelika has over 200 floor plans with unlimited customizable options for size and luxury. Your land can be your equity. And now ask about our close to the lake lots. America's Home Place in front of USA Shopping Center.
$30 seconds. $30 seconds.
I know not that one, the one that they do the advertising thing. Yeah, where is that from? Because I can't believe they are we on?
I don't think so.
Back to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson here with you for another 40 minutes or so on a Saturday here in downtown Alex City. College football 7 days away. Really had a game last night. It was Hawaii versus Cal. Luke, in Australia. I mean, everything is just changing everything up and getting teams involved. And, otherwise, who would care about Cal, Hawaii? But they're playing in Australia in the Sydney Cup. So, heck, everybody's starved for football. Cal wins 51-31 last night.
And I'll tell you, I do like – at first I thought it was a little gimmicky, but then I thought about the aspect there is a recruiting aspect there. First of all, you do make it if they played this
Davis
game.
Webb last night. I mean, he was highly sought after, a graduate transfer, trying to figure out where he was going to end up, and ends up at Cal and left Texas Tech. He visited Auburn, thought about maybe coming to Auburn, and ends up going to Cal. And man, he put on the show last night.
Well, I go back to that the recruiting aspect of this. If they just played this game in California at Berkeley. Yes, the first college football game, but I don't think it gets as much play.
Sure.
First of all. Secondly, in Australia, you have a bunch of guys that play Australian rules football, obviously.
Yep.
And I feel like some of these guys are good kickers. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys can be good return men.
Yep.
There are folks out there who are going after Australian for punters, etc. this is an opportunity. I mean, look, Michigan, either they had a camp in Australia or they're going to. Speaking of Michigan, how about Hawaii? They go to Australia on Friday. Now, next Saturday, they go to Ann Arbor to play Michigan.
Wow.
That's going to be a tough trip.
A lot of traveling. And speaking of the Big Ten, we'll get into Michigan. By the way, let me, since you brought that up, did you hear about the recruit that Michigan – that decommitted for Michigan because he got the letter in the mail?
Aubrey Solomon. Yeah, what happened was that Michigan had a barbecue.
I know, he didn't show up.
And he didn't go because he wasn't able to make it.
And they misspelled his name.
He was committed to Michigan, though.
I know.
And they sent him a thank you for being there, misspelled his name, and he said, look, if you can't spell my name right and don't know if I was there, maybe you don't want me, so I'm decommitting. I think he was going to decommit anyway. He's probably headed to Georgia.
Yeah.
But and he's from Georgia. But I thought it was just a little.
Still, that just shows you that
Michigan's had a flurry of decommitments recently.
They have. So I think maybe the shine of Harbaugh's arrival in Ann Arbor is starting to wear off a little bit.
And you're about to segue into Ohio State. Speaking of Ohio State, they have one of the best classes I've seen. I mean, Alabama's won a lot of recruiting national championships in a row, but Ohio State's probably going to take home that trophy this year. And they've got 5 stars on top of 5 stars. And so while Michigan seems to be all the rage in a sense, Ohio State's just over there doing their thing.
Yeah, and they have. And since Urban Meyer arrived, they've done nothing but win. They got a national championship, was very close to playing for another one. Urban Meyer's brother-in-law involved in a mess, for lack of better terms, and indicted for kidnapping and rape. He's a police officer. Is that Chillicothe?
Chillicothe. And the reason I know that, because Robinson Iron restored a fountain in Chillicothe, Ohio.
Well, there you go.
And we
there's Alex City's tie to the story.
Yeah, and we actually have a lot of patterns that we call, that's a Chillicothe bowl, that's a Chillicothe base, stuff like that.
There you go. I just should have asked you.
Yeah.
That's a cornucopia of terms.
It is.
All right, Chillicothe. Yeah, exactly. Chillicothe police officer accused of abducting a woman in his police car while off duty. Here are some of the details. I'm not going to dive into all of them, but the incident allegedly began when an off-duty when Mather, his name's Brendan Mather, that's Urban Meyer's brother-in-law, texted an on-duty police officer to come to Patrick's Pub intending to ask for a ride. Officer Tad Franklin was there. A woman came out of the Quality Inn on Bridge Street saying her boyfriend had assaulted her. A second officer, Jeff DeMint, arrived as backup to investigate. Meanwhile, the woman was left in a cruiser with Mather, and the cameras were not running while the two were inside. An admittedly intoxicated Mather later drove the woman to his friend's home on Dayton Street. Mather admitted to putting his hands where he shouldn't have in the car and was intoxicated the whole time. Details vary from the trio's account of what happened once inside the Dayton Street home, but the woman told investigators Mather was able to briefly to do something that's unbecoming. So the woman said she had been texting her ex-husband details of the incident while in the house and then called the police. So it's a bad situation.
It is a bad situation. I'm going to say this, though, Brett. This is part of the unfairness of being a celebrity.
I know it is.
Because if you look at the bottom, Shelley Meyer, Urban's wife, says, I'm not close to the situation, and quite frankly, I'm keeping my distance and have for some time. So it makes it sound as if it sounds like this is Shelley Meyer's brother.
It is Shelley Meyer's brother.
And so she's not close with her brother. But because Urban Meyer is who he is, this story gets national pub.
You're right.
And if it were just
Joe
anybody, then we would never know about it, especially not in Alabama, maybe not even in Chillicothe.
That's right.
You guys talked about yesterday, okay, for Stephen Roberts, Cam Robinson, et cetera, if it were us that we were in that car, we would have been thrown under the jail. I think it kind of works the other way sometimes, and this is one of those times. Urban Meyer, he's not my favorite person in the world.
Yeah.
This to me has nothing to do with Urban Meyer.
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with Urban Meyer other than that's his brother-in-law.
Right.
So, I mean, it's issues. And there was another coach last year before, he had a family member do something and he got brought into the mix. I don't know. I can't remember exactly who it was, but you know, that's life. You know, we can't control
you can't control your family, and you can't control who's in your family.
That's exactly. That's one thing you definitely can't control. You don't have choice on that.
I'd have a lot of cousins that would disown me if you could.
But again, it is a situation. It is a situation that obviously Urban Meyer is just one thing, and I'm sure it's not. I mean, I'm sure he's upset. I mean, Shelly, whether she's keeping her distance or not from her brother, still her brother, and you don't want something, being involved in something that's as bad as this, especially these types of allegations. But anyway, 256-234-6221 to be part of the program as we continue on. It just you look at this first week of college football, and we're going to run down the schedule. You look at Bristol, Tennessee. That's where game day will be. I don't know.
No, they'll be there in 2 weeks. They're going to be at Lambeau this week.
That's right. They'll be at Bristol for Tennessee,
Virginia Tech. Yeah.
That's right. I'm in 2 weeks. They're getting the field prepared up there right now. That's going to be. Will that be the largest crowd to watch?
Yeah, it's going to be like 150,000.
Unbelievable.
That's ridiculous. I mean,
and have you seen
I don't even know how you're going to be able to watch it.
Have you seen the screen?
It is pretty
and the cables that are holding that up they're like bigger than the cables on the Golden Gate Bridge.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable what they're doing. But, that's the day and age. What are we going to do to up, what we've done in the past, or what's going to be the next coolest thing that we can get involved with? But that's going to be huge, man. I mean, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, they're in the middle of 150,000+, and there'll be, like you said, 11 billion people outside the stadium or the racetrack. So it'll be cool. It garners interest from people that otherwise probably don't give a
rip. There's no question. And see, it's not exactly the sexiest matchup in the world. I mean, Tennessee's getting a lot of love right now.
The venue really draws
the venue. It makes it cool. And I do wish it was somebody other than Virginia Tech. I'm not Virginia Tech. I'm kind of over Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they've lost luster.
If this new coach can come in and make some things happen, then maybe I can get back on board. But right now, I wish it were Tennessee. I mean, I would love to have seen Tennessee and North Carolina. Tennessee has gone into North Carolina and gotten guys like Heath Schuler and Jay Graham in the past, big-time Tennessee legends. So I would have loved to have seen those two teams play. But, North Carolina and Georgia are going to play in Atlanta. So what game outside of the two Alabama teams this weekend are you most looking forward to, this next weekend, I should say?
Which of the games?
Well, let me just throw them out there. You got Oklahoma, Houston. You got LSU, Wisconsin. You've got A&M, UCLA. Yeah. You've got Georgia, North Carolina.
I'll tell you which one. You don't have to go any further. I mean, all right. First of all, that Georgia, North Carolina. That to me is not a lot. There's not a lot of flash. There's a lot of people that feel like North Carolina is going to win that game. I'm not sure.
I'm one of them.
I'm not sure that will happen. It's Florida State, Ole Miss. I'm interested to see how Florida State. With Dalvin Cook and them being able to rebound from a season that they didn't necessarily it didn't end well for them. Houston able to defeat them in the bowl game. Ole Miss comes in with high expectations, but surrounded by a cloud of NCAA investigation. They lost a lot of people, but still have high expectations. They've got a lot of things to play for. Obviously, one of those teams is going to start off 0-1, and to me. If Florida State loses that game, it damages them more than if Ole Miss loses that game.
Well, I agree with you because
from a record standpoint.
No, I agree with you because I don't think Ole Miss can make the playoff anyway. They can even make it to Atlanta. So, however, I think that if Ole Miss loses this game, I think you could see a downward spiral.
Yeah, you could, and I mean, look, they there may be a time bomb waiting to happen. And if they come in there, and I remember, was it 2 years ago in the Georgia Dome where Ole Miss just got blistered? Who was it they played in the Georgia Dome?
Oh, they played TCU in the bowl game.
And just killed them. If that happens, if they have a situation like that, and Chad Kelly's he's like a Bo Wallace, apt to just kind of fly off the handle and play terrible, you're looking at a mess. But that's the game. And, I'm very interested in the Oklahoma and Houston game because I think Houston coming off the very talented quarterback, Baker Mayfield, talented. But I think if Oklahoma loses that game, man, that could be damaging to them because of their schedule. They just don't play a lot after that. Houston, on the other hand, I think they don't have a very good schedule either. But I think they'll win out coming down the stretch, and they've got a lot to prove. They've got the next hottest coach out there per se, and Herman, and we'll just see how it all plays out. But I'm looking forward to that game as well. We'll go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we'll continue these discussions. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. About 25 more minutes in the day in today's show, and Luke, we've covered a plethora here with one of our words that we've been using of topics today, and talking about the schedule. One thing I do want to talk about is Colin Kaepernick's situation. We'll flash over and talk some pro football because you brought it up, and frankly, Colin Kaepernick refused to stand up and acknowledge the national anthem at the preseason game the other night. Due to treatment of minorities, he comes out and says, I'm not going to stand up, show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder. Yeah, it's selfish, all while he is cashing his $120 million.
It's so hollow.
I mean, it's very hollow. If he really wants to stand up and take a stand, then how about donate a ton of money? And how about look in the mirror and say, I live in a country, since it's so unfair, that's given me the opportunity to make millions of dollars, where I'm in the upper 0.05% of Americans. I'm making so much money, and I'm playing a sport that I have the opportunity to make that kind of money, but I'm going to come out and say I'm not going to stand up. But you're willing to come and work in a country and play in a country that pays you that kind of money, but you're not going to stand up and show respect and show pride for a flag that gave you that opportunity. That's a joke, man.
It's so hollow. It's so disrespectful. And you know what? If you really want to help, instead of being a jerk and instead of taking some stupid, hollow stance like this, come out and still stand, and then afterwards say, guys, I want everybody to know that I see issues in today's society. I have a problem with some of the ways that some people are treated, that I believe some people are treated. But this is my country, and I want to make my country better. Instead, you're being more divisive. You're just being really nothing short of a jerk. I mean, it's so irritating to me. A guy like him makes so much money, and then hides behind that money to say something
Well, I
like
was gonna
this.
say,
And you know what? You want to talk about, of all the people in the NFL who I will pull against, he's at the top of my list for the time being.
There's no doubt. And he comes back to follow that up. I'm not. This is not something I'm going to run by anybody. I'm not looking for approval. I have to stand up for people that are oppressed. If they take football away, my endorsements from me, I know that I stood up for what's right. Is it really?
Yeah.
Really? Is that what he's really willing to sacrifice? Is he going to stand up and say, take all my stuff away? We'll see. I mean, they're not obviously going to punish him for doing that. You're right. And that's what makes this country so great. If you don't want to stand up and acknowledge the national anthem, you don't have to.
You don't have to, but at the same time, Brett, there are repercussions. I go back to the Dixie Chicks way back when they were in London, I think it was, and they talked about George Bush, and they said, "Well, we're embarrassed of our president," and everybody cheered over the Iraq War stuff. Well, they come home, and all of a sudden their sales start dropping, and people quit listening to them. The radio stopped playing because it's their right to say what they want to say. That's no problem.
But there are repercussions.
But it's everybody else's right to say, we don't agree with you, and I'm not buying your junk. And I hope the same thing with Kaepernick.
I want to bring up Ryan Lochte. I agree with you. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to bring up Ryan Lochte. What an idiot! He's still drunk on the air. That's why he said I messed up. I was still drunk. First of all, just quit talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you look like a big idiot already, and he's lost his 4 major endorsements. And you do what he did, and in defense of Brazil, they had tons of negative press going into this Olympics, and a lot of things that they fought hard to fight, like a perception of just violence in the street everywhere and just unsafe, and then this cat comes out and he's the one that's doing the vandalizing and raising the and causing the problems, and it's hard. And then he looks like an idiot, and he's so well liked. He's such a great athlete. You don't have to do that kind of stuff, Luke. And Colin Kaepernick, he's the same way. He didn't have to do stuff like that to make his point. He can voice it and do it in other ways, but he just missed the boat.
Well,
man.
here's the thing.
Missing the boat.
People kill Stephen Roberts and Cam Robinson and kick them off the team and do this. To me, this is much more disgusting. This is, it's hard for me to understand some of the reasons that somebody would want to carry an illegal firearm, even though I don't guess we know for a fact it was any more Stephen Roberts' gun than we know it was Cam Robinson's gun. I get that. And I don't like it when people evade the police or get out of the car and run. Don't like all that. Don't like it when people are trespassing. Don't like it when they have marijuana and they're driving a car, whatever.
Sure.
But, when you do something like this and you're Colin Kaepernick and you actually have a chance to change lives through money, financially, through your own opinion, he's not doing anything but making everybody more divisive,
I totally agree.
More separated. It's so irritating to me that he's not aware enough to understand he can make a positive difference, and instead he's just throwing a negative bomb.
This does exactly. It makes people now more as far as on that side of things and the way they look at it. It leaves even more of a sour taste in their mouth. And
also, what is he mad about? Honestly, if there's anything,
that's the point I brought up. There's a guy that's got a $120 million contract. I think is that somewhere in that neighborhood.
It's about $120 million. He's got enough money.
What is he talking about? What's he being?
He could help be unoppressive. He could dole out.
He could lead the charge of making awareness instead of sitting over there saying one thing. I promise you, if they come up and said, okay, why don't we just take your salary away for a year? If you want to donate it all to this movement or to awareness, why don't you do that? I don't see him stepping up doing it.
I would love to see maybe some of his teammates come out and say, look, he's got the right to say, and he does have the right to.
That's what I said.
He has the right to say it.
He can do whatever
but
he wants
I would
to
love
do.
to see some of his teammates say, you know what, though, we're not behind this. We don't agree with this. And maybe they have a protest of their own. Maybe they say, you know what, I'm not going to play with the guy.
And all he did was roll out on the field and get killed. In San Francisco continues to be terrible in NFL, and I don't think he's the leader, and I don't think he's the answer at quarterback. But neither do I think Tony Romo's the answer for Dallas. So, but I think Dak Prescott's a better quarterback right now.
He looks good.
So we'll go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we'll continue all these discussions, and we'll talk some Auburn, Alabama football as we close out the show. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown coming your way right after this.
All right, so you got 1 minute now.
Where are we? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Where are we? T. Martin out at USC now?
Yeah, he's been there. He's the one that went after Venus Jones.
Yeah.
Back to you, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Couple more segments here in today's show. Luke, let me dive right into something. A little bizarro news surrounding Jalen Hurts this past week, and I think you had Stephen Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of a great opportunity to have him on after he was ostracized by Roll Bama Roll. I believe is that right?
Yeah. Okay. So he writes for a site called Touchdown Alabama. Stephen M. Smith does. He also has a radio show in Tuscaloosa called The Way It Is. Stephen M. has been on our program before he was when he was a student in Alabama. He was calling in to this program.
That's right.
So let me tell you one thing about Stephen M. Smith. He is passionate and he loves Alabama and he's always wanted to be in the sports business. Okay. So I respect that. Now he comes out with an article last week, says breaking news, Jalen Hurts going to be named the starter.
Yeah.
He was the only one that broke it. I think it's quite obvious now that his sources were probably players. Okay. The thing about using players as your sources is they ain't coaches. So they don't know for 100% sure.
That's right.
Roll Bama Roll is another Alabama site, which is also pretty reputable. They break some stories. They came out and accused Stephen M. of plagiarizing some things from one of their writers and also saying he was totally irresponsible and saying Jalen Hurts will be the starter.
Yeah, it's real slanderous.
It was a very, I think Stephen M. handled it about as well as he could. I know he took a lot of heat for it. We had him on Sports Blitz Live to discuss it last Tuesday.
I thought it was a great opportunity. I had him on right after it came out. So.
And you know, I consider Stephen M. a friend of mine. We've had him on our podcast, Talking Tuscaloosa.
You obviously have respect for him.
I do, and I have respect for him more than anything because here's a man who had a vision for what he wanted to do with his life, and he's done it. And he's got, and he doesn't care, and he went out on a limb. Sometimes you go out on a limb with some of these articles, and you're trying to make a name for yourself.
Yep.
Now, it may backfire. I'd be willing to bet Jalen Hurts does not start against USC.
No.
I don't believe he will. I just don't see Saban being able to pull that trigger. I think Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback on our roster right now, and I don't think that's even all that close. But he is a true freshman.
So with that being said, why wouldn't he start him? If he's the best quarterback,
because
why wouldn't he start
in
him?
the end, Saban is a creature of habit just like the rest of us.
Yep.
And I think he's going to say, I've got a guy that's been in the system several years. He has started a game before. Now, he lost that game, but he has started a game before. He's been in games
It's
before.
almost very similar to the thought process that went into Gus Malzahn selecting Sean White.
I think it's very similar. And the one thing that would make it different is because Alabama has an identity. They have used it. That's who they are. I think Auburn is still trying to get back to what their identity is. Roster. But going back to Alabama, I think Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback on the roster. The problem is, I think Nick Saban looks at it as if true freshman going against a team that has enough talent to make it scary. I don't know that USC can beat Alabama, but I think they have enough talent to make it interesting. So you don't want to throw any pick sixes, et cetera. My argument is that I think Cooper Bateman is just as likely to throw those pick sixes. I think Cooper Bateman is a between the 20s quarterback.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, almost like was it Chris Miller that was the quarterback for the Falcons when they went to the Super Bowl? They did a great job moving it from 20 to 20. And every time they got in the red zone, they couldn't cash it in against Denver. But you're right. Cooper Bateman, to me, maybe. I know Alabama fought back in that game. Maybe if
fought back with Jake Coker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If Jake Coker had started that game, may have won it. So I don't know. Maybe a little bit nervous if you start Cooper Bateman against USC, and with Alabama not being able to name that starter right now, maybe that's what's held Nick Saban back, is that he's not willing to pull that trigger on him and do what he needs to do. So very, very, very precarious situation there.
My prediction, Brett, is Jalen Hurts is the starter for Alabama within a few games. And I think I would love to see Jalen Hurts get this start because, number one, I think he's the best quarterback.
Yeah.
Number two, I think he's won the team.
Yeah.
And number three, hey, he starts in Dallas. He's from Texas. It's a good – if you're going to start there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jalen Hurts, obviously, very talented, being able to do what he needs to do. But to be in the mix, to be named the starting quarterback is enough.
And he came here in the spring. So, I mean, he's had a spring
He's
practice.
obviously got what it takes to lead the charge there. But I just thought that was interesting. Good to have Stephen M. on the show to kind of talk about what went on with that. Very, very precarious situation to get called out by another publication, especially when you're considered plagiarizing and talking about stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But we're glad to have him on to kind of talk about that. So
yeah, and we'll have him on again because I don't think he's going anywhere. And look, he kind of went out on a limb, and I think in the end he's going to be right in the sense that Jalen Hurts will be the starter eventually.
Yeah. 256-234-6221. One more final segment to go here in the show. We come back, we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's right after this.
I was there. I wasn't there, but enough to get soaking wet, and then I had to go get food for ball practice. So.
We have a lot of people show up.
Which Andrew's on the DL. So.
Andrew what?
Andrew Davis is on the DL right now.
Wow.
How did he put it?
That's all you do. That's all you do. But I'm glad y'all had some people show up. Yeah. That wasn't no sense in me up there to do the show. She's go to 8 out. I mean, she's worn out.
But Jimmy brought it.
Had all this stuff one week. This look out tomorrow, man. It's just I know they're trying to beat football season starting, but and I got home late last night. I'm just I know you did. But let me tell you something. I make no bones about it. If it was Brett Pritchard the other day, got none. I promise you that.
Yeah, Jimmy had the Bobcat spreading that gravel out. Reed, they brought his tractor up there.
Good.
So
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Final segment here, Luke. Been a great show. A lot that we've covered. A lot of crazy stuff going on, as we suspected. Of course, high school football really getting off to a full start last night. Dable beating Reeltown on Thursday. Horseshoe Bend getting a big win over Donahoe, putting 55 on the board last night. Obviously, right here on 97.5. Most everybody heard the call of us with Benjamin Russell and Central Clay. A last-second field goal, literally 1.2 seconds. Central Clay calls a timeout, kicks a 26-yarder to win the ball game. 19-16, not the way you want to get the season started, but nevertheless, a lot of positive things that you draw out of that game. Defense being one of them, special teams being one of them. I thought special teams would be something to look at because you lost Sean Raitt, but you know, I was very impressed with Dylan Munkus stepping up, kicking the football, punting the football last night, kicked 3 field goals, kicked an extra point. Nicolby had a good game, run the football. Nobody shot there. Thought Timmy looked good back there at quarterback, being able to run, but we've got some issues on consistency offensively, penalties, and trying to stay ahead of the chains. And, you know, it was the first game, but trying to get our feet under us and be a little bit more diverse on offense.
Yeah, and again, it's not the end of the world that you lost, and you lost to a pretty good team. Now, you give Central Clay County a lot more credit because they've now beaten 2 ranked teams from 2 other classifications. I mean,
they've done really
feat.
well. I mean, that was and I talked to Tommy Wood, a good friend of ours, this morning. He said, I really looked at that start of that schedule for Central Clay, and I thought, man, that's going to be tough. Munford ranked top number 5 in their class. Benjamin Russell, number 10 in 6A, and they've been able to squeak out wins against both of them. So credit Chris Herron and that coaching staff for being able to do what they can to grind out 2 wins and get to 2-0. Luke, obviously, we'll be on the air next Saturday. We'll be on the air Tuesday for Lake Martin Sports Roundup and the Sports Blitz live show that we have. We'll be game week for Alabama and Auburn and everybody in college football. But Saturday, it's going to be interesting to see this week, to see if Nick Saban goes ahead and names Cooper Bateman the starter, which we suspect to happen. Will Jalen Hurts get some playing time in that game? How will that play out? Sean White being named the starter. What will it look like as far as the discipline on Stephen Roberts? All that to come this coming up week. So a lot packed into game week.
And you better have 2 TVs for Saturday night. Alabama starts at 7, Auburn starts at 8. So I know I'm going to be at a buddy's house who's got about 4 TVs, and they're just all going to be on. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I mean, you've been saying this for over 2 years. This opening week of this season, 2016, college football season is phenomenal. All the games on just seems like, it's like bowl games on steroids. I mean, the matchups, just dream matchups all the way around. So,
and I love the way they've broken it out. I mean, you really start on Thursday, and South Carolina Vandy, doesn't do a lot for you, but it's an SEC game.
But it is an SEC game.
And I am going to watch to see if Will Muschamp has an aneurysm.
Could happen.
Could very well happen.
By the time this season's over, when he only wins 2 ball games, that probably could happen for sure. But it's been a fun show. Again, every Saturday right here at JR Sports Bar and Grill, 10 to noon, and high school football off to a fast start now. College football starts next Saturday. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up the next few months. Stay tuned. Keep it locked right here, 97.5, all of football season. Now, for Luke Robinson and Justin Mosley back in the studio, I'm Brett Pritchard saying we've enjoyed it. We OPF. See you next time.